Rick Ross just played Big Meech like a chess piece in what's now being called a $120 million hustle, and 50 Cent isn't letting it slide. He's out here roasting the whole situation, and honestly, it's wild how predictable this move was. Everyone in the streets saw it coming, everyone except Big Meech himself. Ross slid in smooth, talking big, flashing movie deals, promising massive projects, throwing around Hollywood dreams like bait on a fishing line. But when the lights went out and the camera stopped rolling, he vanished. Left Meech and his son standing in the cold, broke, sidelined, and betrayed while he kept living large in his mansions, sipping success built on someone else's name.
I feel bad for Lil Meech. I don't feel bad for no grown man on this planet. Like, I'm a grown man. Why the f I gotta feel bad for another grown man? Like, you a grown man too. What you asking for my sympathy for? You be alright.
Street insiders say they saw this playbook unfolding long before the headlines ever dropped. When Big Meech stepped out of prison last October, the whole game was waiting for a redemption story, the legend returning to reclaim his crown. Everyone expected Meech to flip his street legacy into a real empire, one built on power and respect instead of concrete and chaos. But then, out of nowhere, Rick Ross appeared, talking louder, moving faster, flashing numbers that made the streets buzz. He spoke of $120 million film deals, massive ventures, and a so-called financial revolution. On paper, it looked like Meech was finally about to cash in on the name he built brick by brick. But when the dust settled, the truth hit harder than anyone expected. There was no empire. No projects. No payouts. Just smoke and mirrors. Ross didn't build anything. He only borrowed the Meech name to flex on his longtime rival, 50 Cent, turning another man's legacy into a prop for his own narrative.
That guy, I don't think there's a bad guy.
No, yes it is. Fuck that, Vlad, let's talk about it.
I think Meech is the one that made a mistake.
No.
No? You think 50?
No.
Lil Meech?
No.
Who am I forgetting now?
Rick Ross knew perfectly damn well what he was doing and what that would lead to. And if he was a real friend to Meech.
The streets caught on quick. Nobody was buying the act. From the start, everyone knew Ross was chasing clout, not loyalty. In this game, people remember who really put in the work, and that's been 50 Cent all along. He's the one who funded the BMF series, paid for Lil Meech's acting training, and opened doors that turned him into more than just a name, a star in his own right. Meanwhile, Ross showed up with nothing but noise, big talk, flashy headlines, and zero substance. Every move boosted his own image while adding nothing to the legacy he claimed to respect. Still, Meech leaned closer to Ross, turning his back on the man who actually carried his family's name through the years. That choice lit a quiet fire behind the scenes. Even Tony Yayo said it straight. 50's been solid since day one. No gimmicks, no front. Now, word around the block is that reality's starting to bite. Meech is feeling the pressure, the money's tight, the fame's fading, and frustration's setting in. Because truth be told, Ross never came around out of brotherhood or respect. He saw an opportunity to poke at 50 Cent and stir chaos. And in that game of power, Meech stopped looking like a legend. He started looking like a pawn in someone else's feud. That's when 50 Cent decided enough was enough. He flipped the narrative the only way he knows how, with that trademark. Ruthless humor, claiming Ross told Lil Meech to drop his father's address so he could send over a box of Wingstop wings.
I wasn't going to address this, because I'm not trying to let nobody trick me off the streets. But I never folded, never told, never will. Death before dishonor, always with me. So I'm doing this for my loved ones and the support of my friends and family.
That jab from 50 wasn't just comedy, it was strategy. Every word carried weight. Beneath the humor, he was exposing a truth. Rick Ross wasn't feeding the Meech legacy real substance, only leftovers dressed up as loyalty. The laughter hit hard because it came wrapped in facts, but things quickly turned personal. 50 Cent started pulling back the curtain on what was really happening behind the scenes. He claimed he had to step in himself, sending Lil Meech to rehab after he showed up to set out of control, sick during weapons training, losing focus when the camera started rolling. Then came the infamous discovery, the whippets found in Meech's car. Those nitrous oxide canisters tied to reckless behavior. 50 even joked he had to Google what whippets were, shaking his head at the chaos while driving home his point. In his mind, he was the only grown man in the room, the one keeping the production running while everyone else fell apart. He positioned himself as the protector, the steady hand holding Lil Meech's career together, while Ross and Big Meech, in his eyes, played dangerously with their names and reputations, and despite all of it, the help, the loyalty, the effort, Lil Meech still chose to side with Ross. The cameras caught them together at parties, laughing, shining, pretending everything was good. But the streets weren't fooled. They started roasting what was left of the once mighty BMF image. That alliance with Ross, built on ego and empty promises, collapsed faster than anyone expected. Then came a twist no one saw coming. Michael Rainey Jr., star of Power, jumped into the mix. He didn't sugarcoat a thing, saying straight up he didn't feel bad for Lil Meech or Big Meech. Why? Because in his words, grown men should have seen this coming.
Ricky Rose, the time has come. Meech on. February 13th, get your tickets right now, it's going down. We know Florida gonna be there, Miami gonna be there. The legend himself gonna be in the building, making history. Meech, who else coming?
The whole nation, Detroit, St. Louis, California, everybody. Atlanta, Georgia, ATL, stand up.
Woo. We gonna make history, get your tickets.
That moment from Michael Rainey Jr. set the internet on fire. The clip spread like wildfire across every platform, and when 50 Cent saw it, he didn't hesitate for a second. He backed Rainey's words with full force, doubling down, not backing off. In 50's eyes, the message was clear. The Meech camp looked weak, confused, and played by their own alliances. He didn't retract, didn't soften his stance. He stamped it. To him, this wasn't just drama, it was another textbook case of loyalty gone wrong and judgment clouded by ego. And let's be real, Rick Ross leaving people hanging. That's nothing new. Insiders say it's almost his signature move. There have been whispers before, stories of how Ross allegedly left members of his own crew behind during a tense situation in Canada, letting them get handled while he slipped out safely. Later, he supposedly called it a test of strength. Cold, calculated, classic Ross, that, according to the streets, is his pattern, stay shining while others take the fall.
Do want to do a BMF film because you've been entertained by a lackluster, small budget series. Now it's time to do a big budget film. Which director? Shout out to my homie F. Gary Gray, Antoine Foucault, what's up? Tarantino, it's a lot of legends. This is gonna be big, I can feel it. I'm just talking,
Whack 100 eventually jumped into the mix, calling Rick Ross the real villain operating behind the scenes. According to Whack, Ross was never a loyal friend to Big Meech, just a calculated manipulator who used Meech's name as a chess piece in his feud with 50 Cent. And Whack didn't sugarcoat a thing. He made it clear, if Ross had truly wanted to build something meaningful, he would have kept the business quiet, handled things in silence, away from cameras and gossip. Real moves don't need an audience, but Ross made it all about himself. Every deal, every spotlight, every ounce of shine pointed back to him. He flaunted the Meech connection not out of respect, but for clout, a way to boost his own brand while pretending it was loyalty. That right there told the whole story. Ross was never in it for Big Meech. He was in it for Ross. He saw the play before it even began, feeding Meech big dreams about empires and millions, while the only empire that actually grew was his own fame, behind the curtain. Ross had been quietly turning Big Meech against 50, the same man who helped rebuild his son's entire career. And when the dust settled, there wasn't an empire left. Just broken promises and headlines that faded overnight.
Who own your masters? Who own your masters? I buy your masters. You better shut up. I will buy your master.
you know, but when you take Lil Meech and you put him in acting school, you know, you take him from Detroit. I remember him rapping when he was rapping and nobody was helping him from what I seen, because I remember when Lil Meech was rapping.
Rick Ross eventually went ghost on Meech, cut him off completely, right when the hype started to die down. And that's when reality hit. Ross had only ever moved for one reason, his own benefit. Once Meech stopped being useful to the plan, he was quietly erased from it. Whispers started spreading in the industry, saying Ross might have been the one who pulled the strings to cancel Meech's Welcome Home event, the same one fans believed 50 Cent had sabotaged. But insiders painted a much darker picture. Ross never wanted Meech to rise again. He wanted him quiet, sitting on the sidelines. While Ross played the hero role for social media applause, for many, that was the ultimate betrayal. A cold, strategic move where one man's legacy was traded for another's clout. And the saddest part? Meech walked right into it. Then came his failed comeback swing, trying to clap back by calling 50 Cent an internet gangster, claiming he hid behind his phone for attention. But the streets didn't buy it for a second. Everyone saw it as what it really was, damage control. By that point, the jokes had already taken over. Memes, comments, clowning, the internet had decided. In the public eye, Meech wasn't the boss anymore. He was the one who got played. And when you trace Ross's history, it's hard not to notice the pattern. Every alliance he's ever built seems to end the same way. One man richer, the other left holding the bill.
Is there anything about Ross and his career that you have any respect for? Oh, no, there's nothing there. There's nothing there. I never wanted to work with him.
When you really look into Rick Ross's history, a pattern starts to stand out, one built more on strategy and self-interest than loyalty. Nearly every major partnership he's had in hip-hop seems to end the same way, with tension, confusion, and someone else left holding the losses. From the early Maybach music days to his messy fallouts with former allies, Ross has shown a habit of turning friendships into storylines. Just look at the MMG roster: Whale, Meek Mill, Gunplay, all once proudly standing under his empire's flag. But as time passed, each started speaking out about broken promises, missing money, and deals that never added up. On the surface, Ross always played the role of the supportive boss. But the whispers behind closed doors told another story, one driven by ego, control, and quiet manipulation.
Guy, I don't think there's a bad guy.
No, yes it is. That Vlad, let's talk about it.
I think Meech is the one that made a mistake.
No.
No? You think 50?
No.
Lil Meech?
No.
Who am I forgetting now?
Rick Ross knew perfectly damn well what he was doing and what that would lead to. And if he was a real friend to Meech, unless he was looking to get 50 out the way, he would have dealt with Meech in the shadows, because he knows me and this dude who is gonna react if he sees me dealing with this dude that he has business with. And there was a lot of business left to be done, right? Rick Ross, bro, could have done whatever he was gonna do in the shadows if he really honored and respected Meech. Trust me, Meech wished none of this was going.
Even Meek Mill, once seen as Ross's most trusted ally, eventually stepped back, realizing the empire was never built for everyone to shine equally. And now, that same play seems to be repeating with Big Meech, the $120 million project. Ross hyped up turned out to be nothing but illusion, all smoke and no fire. While he walked away with another round of headlines, people in the culture aren't blind. They've noticed the pattern. Every time Ross's fame starts to fade, he suddenly reappears next to someone with real street weight. Someone whose name can bring him back into the spotlight. Meanwhile, 50 Cent is out here doing the opposite, turning true stories into empires, flipping real-life hustle into billion-dollar television. That's the contrast. Ross keeps chasing attention through controversy, while 50 plays the long game, building power through moves, not noise. The streets see it. The fans see it. Even industry insiders are starting to say it out loud. Ross might be playing checkers. While 50's been running chess from day one, and now the only question left is, how many more people will Ross pull into his orbit before they realize the pattern? Because history doesn't lie. Everyone who stands beside him eventually learns the same hard truth. Loyalty fades fast. But clout lasts forever. Ross's blueprint has always been the same: borrow legacies. Build hype, then disappear when the smoke clears.
Now,
That guy, I don't think there's a bad guy.
No, yes it is. Fuck that, Vlad. Let's talk about it.
I think Meech is the one that made a mistake.
No,
No? You think 50?
no,
Lil Meech.
no.
Who am I forgetting now?
Rick Ross knew perfectly damn well what he was doing and what that would lead to. And if he was a real friend to Meech,
The BMF track made Big Meech believe Ross was standing beside him like blood, loyal, unshakable family. But what if that loyalty was never real? What if it was all part of a setup, not to honor the legend, but to replace him in the eyes of the culture? When you step back and look at the pattern, it fits too perfectly. Rick Ross has built an entire career using names and legacies that were never his to begin with. It's all right there in the history books. His whole persona was born from another man's story, the real Rick Ross, the street legend who was behind bars while the rapper took his name, his image, and his story to build a multi-million-dollar empire. And when the real Ross came home and called him out, even dragged him to court to reclaim what was his, the rapper didn't back down. He doubled down. He leaned deeper into the myth and kept getting richer off someone else's legacy. Then came the same move with Larry Hoover, another name, another legend, another story used for songs, interviews, and headlines. Different icon, same hustle. And now, with Big Meech, it feels like history repeating itself. Another borrowed name, another manipulated legacy, another man left in the shadows while Ross shines under borrowed light. The picture is clear now. Rick Ross has been eating off other people's pain for years, flipping real struggle into profit, and walking away clean every time the smoke settles. Truth is, 50 Cent saw it coming from a mile away. He said it plain: Ross never earned respect as a man, only as a marketer. And the internet agrees. One viral comment said, "Rick Ross is a fraud, plain and simple." Another wrote, "He destroyed the whole legacy chasing clout." The people have spoken, but one question still lingers. Is Rick Ross just playing the game, or did he really leave Big Meech stranded in the cold? Was Meech's loyalty misplaced, or was he simply outplayed in a much bigger hustle? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button, and make sure you subscribe, because this story is far from over.